Welcome everybody to the new episode of Matter of Fact. It's your host Eliante. Joining me today is no other than Dom the Great and my boy Austin. Holla at the kid. You know what I'm saying?
What's up? How y'all doing, man?
You always come on so like peaceful and saying like
I
you
mean,
just got done meditating and shit.
Yeah, because
I,
I probably have.
He's been
hey
meditating
man.
so hard that he doesn't even remember meditating. That's crazy. That's tough
I
though.
mean,
Fuck with
niggas hit the J. Niggas hit the J before, so you know what I'm saying. We chilling over here on this side. You know what I'm saying.
facts. Well, let's get into it.
All right, so we know we going out west today. We're about to start off with the AFC West division. No other than the defending back-to-back NFL champions, Kansas City Chiefs. So started off with the most obvious question that everybody wants to answer to right now. What do the Chiefs need to do to be the first team to three-peat ever?
Dom, you want to go
Um,
first? Or you want me to go?
sure, I'll go. To me, what they need to do is what they continue to keep doing. They get players out of there fast, similar to what Belichick was doing with that New England dynasty. And they have positions they don't want to pay and lock money up to, funneling cheap talent through the draft. So if they just keep up drafting good talent and Andy Reid's at the helm, Patrick Mahomes stays healthy. Ever since that one injury where I think they were doing like a QB sneak or something like that, notice they don't do that no more. they don't even put him in harm's way like that. So they know what they're doing over there. Um, Personally, I think they need another receiver, of course, and with L'Jarius Sneed not there, obviously they're going to need another corner. But besides that, I mean, just keep trusting the process.
For sure, for sure. Austin, what's
Um,
up, man?
yeah, I mean, Kansas City Chiefs are the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a lot of advantages over most of the football teams that they play, especially at quarterback. When it comes to the team in general, I think they're kind of set up pretty well to make another run. Obviously, not having a 1,000-yard receiver last year is going to be something that they're going to work towards upgrading. But again, when you have Marquise Brown and whatever happens with Rashid Rice, hopefully it's not too crazy in terms of like his suspension or whatever, and you still got Travis Kelsey. I think that they're going to have enough weapons to be able to maintain the offense that they need to win football games. Their defense is pretty strong. Again, they have an amazing defensive coordinator. I want to say his name is Steve Spagnuolo, and
Yep.
even at CB without the Darius Sneed, that was something that they kind of were prepared for. So they in the draft before they had already selected a wide receiver. I mean a cornerback. It looks like it's right there, number 2, Williams. I forget what his first name is.
I
Can
think
you click
it's
on
I
it for
think
me?
it's like Josh Williams or something like
Yeah,
that.
Joshua
Mason,
Williams.
something.
Yeah, and he's pretty solid. I mean, 6'3", 193. Like, hopefully, if he can come in, he can contribute. Again, that's them just kind of knowing what's going to happen, understanding the salary cap situation, today's NFL, how it goes in free agency. They have a dominant force at defensive tackle, probably the best defensive tackle in the game now with Aaron Donald retiring.
Don't
So,
trigger
I
me,
mean,
bro. Stop trying to trigger me,
I
bro.
mean, I'm sure your guy is good, but this guy is, you know, might be better. That's just what the situation is. I'm not trying to trigger you. I'm just trying to, say what's true. And Chris Jones is a game breaker. I wish he would become a free agent, but they're smart enough to never let him hit free agency. And yeah, so I think they're
It's
going to be
it's
good. I
it's
think
it's
that they're
not
going to be
like
ready
y'all would
to
pay for him
contend,
anyway.
contend. Hey, maybe. Who knows? The reason we don't pay for free agents is because the ones that are really good never hit free agency. That's the reason we don't pay for free agents. We don't overpay for players that might be good. We rather
Well,
just pay money for
how do
players
you
that are all pros.
how do you feel about how much Christian Wilkins costs? Like, let's say y'all did have the money to, shore up that D line, have somebody on the interior. That was like one of the best free agents. Do you think that'd be
He would have
worthy
been
of
he would have been one
spending
that we
money
would have
on?
paid. Yeah, if in the perfect world and everybody was already extended and we had some leftover money and they weren't trying to do this deals through the media type situation that they're going through right now, yeah, he would have been a guy that I wanted more than Derrick Henry, more than whoever was like the sexy first day signings. Like, yeah, Christian Wilkins, 100% worth the money. And people were even surprised that Dolphins even let him go. They were like, why are they letting this guy go? So
I just think they couldn't afford him, I guess. And ironically, we're talking about the Chiefs. Some of that money is going to Cheetah. I forgot what his contract was, but obviously it was way more than the Chiefs were willing to pay him for. So maybe that has to do with it, and that's the the lifeline of that offense, along with Jalen Waddle. But it's really Cheetah out there. And side note on the Chiefs, with the concept of them three-peating, it's never been done before. It's interesting growing up watching football. The Patriots are always kind of like the bad guys. Chiefs are kind of a more offensive, audience-friendly, more likable version of the Patriots. And towards the end of the year, you could really see the public perception turn on them, like on some villain type stuff, especially with the Taylor Swift thing going on. And my thoughts on that is, like, as an NFL fan, wouldn't you want them to take advantage of that situation? You have the best tight end, arguably the best tight end of all time between him and Gronkowski, on the best team, playing with the best quarterback, playing with the best coach, and then you have arguably the best or the most popular artist in America, and then they start dating and she starts coming to games. That's something out of like a rom-com or a Disney movie.
That's what
So
I was really thinking.
like you got to take advantage of that. It's a business, and I feel like a lot of that Chiefs hate, it was like a perfect storm. It's like, oh, Taylor Swift, oh, this. It's like, I don't even listen to her music, but like, let that rock. I'd be mad at them if they didn't take advantage of that, because I'm a fan of the NFL and want them to continue growing. And hey, if she could take some of them Swiftie fans and we could turn that into revenue, I'm all for it.
So it sounds like you all for the league. That's what it sounds like. You for the league.
It's my favorite sport. Goes without saying.
Nah, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, that being said, let's go on ahead and move on to the next team. How about that?
that's cool.
Yeah,
Hey, we'll
not
talk
much
about
to
next.
talk about with the Chiefs. It's like, bro, can they just do it again? Like, you know what I mean? We'd be nitpicking. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like we all know it's just gonna come down to we ain't gonna really know until playoff time, how the Chiefs, they just turned up in the playoffs this past year. So, what I'm saying? They could be the underdogs. We saw Thriller and OT in that Super Bowl game against, motherfucking 49ers. They had a hell of a roster, but we'll get to them later. Anyways, let's move on to the next team in the division. No other than the good old. Let's go to the Arizona or whoa. My bad. I meant to say the Los Angeles Chargers. Wait. Actually, we're doing the Vegas Raiders. Good thing we can cut. All right, yeah. All right, moving on to the next team in the division. We're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. What can the Raiders do to remain competitive in a surging division? I'm gonna ask that again. Hold on. Yeah. So the next team we about to talk about is the Las Vegas Raiders. I want y'all to answer. See, that's on the corner now. All right.
Bro, just read it straight up, bro.
So the next team is Las Vegas Raiders. What can the Raiders do to remain competitive in a surging division?
It starts with quarterback. So they have Aiden O'Connell. Can we pull up their roster real quick, similar to what we were doing with the Chiefs? But
So I'm doing it right now.
But they have the 13th pick. They have to worry about the Vikings. They have to worry about the Broncos. It's kind of clear that they're aiming for one of these quarterbacks, right? It seems like the consensus is there's 6 really good ones. There's levels to it. Caleb Williams, obviously, in a different tier. That's a perception. But then a prime place to get one of those quarterbacks if they really like them. And in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and obviously whatever the Broncos do with their pick, they definitely need more quarterback more than the Raiders, because at least O'Connell was somewhat serviceable. Obviously not the guy, but he should be a pretty good backup for them. And, he knows the playbook and whatnot. But, it kind of starts with that, because all over their roster, they have dogs. They have Devontae Adams, who's still a top 3 receiver. Max Crosby, definitely a top 5 pass rusher to me. They're the ones, speaking of Christian Wilkins, that's the team that he went to. So that D-line should be pretty scary. And, who else? Oh, Michael Mayer. Hopefully he could have like a really big boost in his sophomore year. But, it's going to be tough. At the end of the day, the Chiefs is in your division. So you might have 2 automatic L's every year for
Well, they did beat them. They did beat them last year. Christmas Day. They was on the Chiefs' ass. So, and that was just straight defense. But that's why the Chiefs need a few more playmakers on offense, so that when they do run into a few defenses like the Oakland Raiders, they got something for them. But that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. I mean, it's any given Sunday, and those division games are tough, even betting on them. But hey, man, I feel like Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce were just with the family day before, wasn't taking it seriously, and then became a real battle. You know what I mean? Not trying to take anything away from the Raiders, of course, but But I mean, what do you think they need to do? Like, who do you think they should get a quarterback? Let's phrase it that way.
I mean, obviously, they would love to be able to have the assets to trade up to solidify one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft. Unfortunately, they're not in a situation to do that. I think that they're in a scenario where they're just hoping that a guy falls to them. If one of those guys are able to fall to them, whether it be Penix or Bo Nix, I think they take the flyer. Now they do have a defensive-minded head coach as their head coach. So maybe if he has some decisions, or he has a little bit of pull in the draft room or in the war room, and he really, really loves a defensive player, maybe he goes that side of the ball. However, he has been pretty adamant when he speaks that he is looking for a quarterback, and he understands that quarterback is the position that really, really is the nucleus of a stable NFL team. So I do think he would like to get a franchise guy. However, I think that they got to stay put just due to their assets at 13. And I think that they're hoping that either Bo Nix or Penix falls to him. I think that they're hoping that if it is Penix, he's a day 1 starter. And I think that with the Raiders have going on, I do think Penix is the perfect quarterback for this situation. He's used to targeting number 1 wide receivers. He understands getting through progressions, and there's film of him throwing it to the third option in a route, or there's places where he's been in trouble and he just goes to his number 1 guy deep, and he throws a nice ball that he's able to contestically catch. And if you're the Raiders right now, I think a quarterback like that automatically upgrades your team, and maybe it doesn't put you in playoff contention or the contention for the division title, because you are facing the Chiefs, but they would be a fun team to watch, and their future would be very, very bright considering all the other blue chip players that they have on the roster right now.
Yeah, for sure. Side note, I didn't realize this, but they also signed Gardner Minshew. So overall, I feel like, they're in a better position regardless than, the Broncos, who is right in front of them. So that whole second run of quarterbacks should be interesting. You have 3 teams in a row that need quarterback, similar to the first 3 in the beginning of the draft. So yeah, I mean, the Raiders, I think they're going to be pretty competitive. They finally have a coach that, they learned from their last mistake, which is stop going for these big swings with the big names. The Raiders just seem like a team and a culture where Antonio Pierce is just perfect for it. He understands the game. He played linebacker. We talked about how these bold linebackers are making for great coaches. And I'm biased though. He won a Super Bowl with us back in the day. So, but that's what they need. So you have structure in terms of coaching. Now go get that structure at quarterback because you have your number one wide receiver and you have a pass rusher and you have somebody in the middle of that D line. So I think they're almost there. I wouldn't call them sleepers, but they're getting somewhere.
True. Well, I want to move on to the next team in the division. No other than the team you were just talking about, Dom, Denver Broncos. Are the
Let's rock.
Broncos? Oh God! Oh no! Shout out Future though. Are the Broncos making the right move by relying on a rookie QB?
You want to take this away, Austin?
I don't think that it's like a right or a wrong move. I think it's just what the situation calls for. They brought over Sean Payton. Sean Payton wasn't a big fan of Russ. And while Russ didn't have one of the best seasons in the NFL, near the end, he did play pretty well. However, it just wasn't a fit, and they didn't like the salary cap situation that they were in because of Russell Wilson. So, they have a situation going on where they wanted to get rid of the person that they thought was going to be their franchise quarterback, which leaves you with no quarterback at all. I don't think that they like the situation that they're in. I just think that they're understanding that this is part of a rebuild process. We're going to have to take on some dead cap. We're going to have to shed some of our older players. We're going to get rid of some of our players that could possibly be cancerous to the locker room. We're going to get our guys in here and we're going to create our culture. These are the first steps that you got to take in regards to doing that. However, they do have the 12th pick in the draft. Again, same situation. I think that they are hopeful that one of these quarterbacks that are supposed to be considered more than serviceable are able to fall to them at that 12 spot, and they're able to select someone of the likes of Bo Nix or Michael Penix to run the offense. They do still have a few decent pieces in place. However, they're all young. I think that Marvin Mims is a very good wide receiver, and I think that Javonte Williams is a pretty good running back. Also, those are positions that they'll probably take shots at in the draft too. I just think that they're in a rebuilding process right now. And the quarterback situation is something that they can't control. They'll probably won't have that good of a season this year. Probably might win maybe 4 to 5 games, and then next year they'll be in a better situation to where they can select a franchise quarterback.
Do you think Russell Wilson is worth like that many wins? Because then they win like 7 games this year.
Yeah,
I could double check that.
Russell Wilson is worth more wins than most backup quarterbacks in the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, people might not like the money he was getting paid.
Ooh.
They might not like the fact that they keep up.
The Broncos had 8 wins. They had 8 wins.
Yeah. So I think they'll be just off the strength of Sean Payton, and if they get their guy, in our mock, had him going Bo Nix, just feels like his type of player. The reason why he didn't like Russell Wilson, obviously it wasn't a personality fit, but in terms of what Sean Payton likes to do, think about his career with the Saints. He had Drew Brees, accurate, stays in the pocket, isn't remixing the play at all, isn't trying to rely on his legs. So you take Bo Nix, who has like the most experience as a college quarterback, damn near like we've seen. And I feel like that'd be his guy, and they have enough weapons. Like, even though they got rid of Judy, which I think they were just ready to move on with that. Like, I just feel like the conversation was always, man, when's he going to reach his full potential? But Cortland Sutton does his thing. Marvin Mims is looking really good. You still have Tim Patrick. Dulcich, pretty underrated tight end. So they have the weapons. What do you think about them letting Justin Simmons go though? I know they need the cap space and
They're just
whatnot,
getting
but
younger. They let go of anybody that was over like 23, 24 years old is not on this football team anymore. I mean,
mm,
it's really like, I mean, outside of Garrett Bowles, they let go of almost all the veterans on their roster. They're not there. They're one of the youngest teams in the NFL statistically wise right now. And that's just because of the players that they've gotten rid of. And I think the only players that they've even kept on the roster are the players that were signed in free agency last year. So Mike McGlinchey, you see Singleton, number 49 right there. Those type of players, though, and the reason that they're staying is because they just signed them to huge free agent money a year before, which again goes back to my point that I really could care less about my team spending big money in free agency. I kind of don't like that at all. But to each his own.
oh yeah, we'll definitely we'll definitely get to that. You mentioned that they might address some positions in the draft. Are you referring to running back? Because I know you were talking about Javonte Williams. I just don't want to misquote you.
No, I don't think that they would address the running back position necessarily. Like they got a lot of they have a lot of other issues that are more glaring needs than running back. And we all know, you're able to find running backs in the 5th, 6th, 7th round that can do whatever you need them to do. One guy I would keep an eye out for the Denver Broncos if they were to select the running back high is Jalen Wright from Tennessee. And the reason that I say that is because he does have blazing 4.4 speed. He has really good balance. He can catch the ball out the backfield. And if you know Sean Payton, you know he likes running backs that can run choice routes. And I think that out of the all the running backs in this draft, I think the running back that would best suit a person to run choice routes, I think that would be Jalen Wright. So if there is a running back for them to keep an eye out for upgrading at the position, keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was just making sure. So you're just talking about in general because they just got Jaleel McLaughlin last year, and he had some juice. They scooped up Samaje
Yeah, but
Perine from the Bengals.
he's only like 5'7" though. So I mean, and Sean Payton loves him.
He's a he's a gadgety player for sure.
Every time Sean Payton had a chance to talk about how good Jaleel McLaughlin was, he let you know. Like he let everybody know. He loves him as a player. But again, this is a guy who had Darren Sproles on his football team, so he doesn't care about those type of measurements.
Right. And speaking of him liking somebody, so when they brought Sean Payton in, I just want your opinion on this. Do you think there was like kind of a glass half empty sort of pitch? Like, look, we're going to have to get rid of this Russell guy. He's ruining our PR. Let's ride as a joke. He came in a training camp overweight, and like, do you think it was always kind of locked in? Like, yo, unless he shows some crazy upside from the year before, the whole plan is you, because we traded a 1st round pick for you, so you could go get your guy. Do you think that was a part of bringing Sean Payton in, or what?
Nah, I think they brought Sean Payton in to try to save the situation. I mean, Sean Payton is supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, and I just think it was one of those situations where Russ started playing well. I'm not saying that he was all world or anything like that, but Russ did start playing decent football, above average football near the end of the season. And, they come out of nowhere and they want to ask him if he can take a pay cut. I'm not taking a pay cut. Y'all owe me this money. I'm not taking a pay cut. And, because he didn't want to take a pay cut, they're like, okay, well, we're going to bench you so that you don't get hurt and we don't have to pay out these guarantees to you, this, that, and the other thing. Now, that's a politics type situation all on its own. Has nothing to do with how somebody's producing on the football field. And sometimes I think that gets caught up in these situations, and that's what, me personally, I'm never really going to feed into those type of narratives unless we got like sound source proof that that's what was going on. what we do know is the contract situation, and what we do know is what was being said and what has been alleged. And yeah, we saw who the starter was at the end of the NFL football season for the Denver Broncos, and we saw how that went. So
Yeah, but think about it like this. When did they ask him to take a pay cut? Like week 6 or something like that? Like it was pretty
no,
early on.
no,
It was pretty early on.
they asked him to take a pay cut. I want to say they asked him to take a pay cut and like ended like November, because that's when he was benched. He got benched
No,
after
no,
he
no, no,
decided
no.
he didn't want to take a pay cut.
What Russell Wilson said was that they asked him weeks ago, and what Russell Wilson was getting a lot of praise for playing, like keeping it professional and playing through that, knowing like, yo, like they just asked me to take some money back mid-season while I'm playing like pretty decently. And honestly, I think him playing like quote unquote above average is it's linked to how bad and disastrous the Broncos offense looked the year before, where it's like, yeah, it's way better comparative to that, but is it worth how much he's getting paid? Hell
Hey
no.
man, that check is already deposited. So, and it's like if you worried about the money, you shouldn't have. No one told you had to trade 3 first-round picks for him and then extend them. So you know what I mean?
The
Like,
extension was the biggest like issue of it all. Like, yeah, you could argue the money was super bad, but at that point in time, nobody was questioning it. You know, hindsight's 2020. But before he even gets a snap, you extend him. I mean, shit, that
that was part
recipe
of the
for
trade.
disaster. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
part of
yeah.
the trade. So
Yeah,
I
I get
mean,
it, but like shit.
not everybody makes the right decisions in the NFL, and when you don't, it sets your franchise back.
So I was
Mhm.
just reading this article just to verify the time when Russell Wilson was offered to take the pay cut. It was actually after that game against the New England Patriots, who were 3-11 going into the matchup. The Broncos were 7-7, and that was when he had finally said that rumors had said that quarterback Russell Wilson had finally decided to accept the pay cut, but turns out he ended up not taking it, as you guys just both discussed, which is hilarious. I mean, that just sounds about Russell Wilson to me. You know what I'm saying?
I
I
mean,
mean,
even though I'm
hey,
not a Russell Wilson fan, I'm not taking no pay cut either. Like it's in my
Oh
contract.
yeah, no,
that money's
And,
owed to
and
me.
you and you and you and you know how much I don't fuck with Russell
exactly.
Wilson. You know how much I
Nah, I
don't like
feel
the
it.
guy. But like in that situation, the Broncos handled that poorly. So hey, it
Yeah,
is
I
what
don't
it
know
is.
anyone who's not gonna take money.
Hopefully he doesn't lose his job to Justin Fields. How do you feel about that though, Oz? I know we're not on that division anymore, but like, what do you hope happens? Because I know you're a big Justin Fields guy.
I mean, I'm really like hope for anything. Like I'm just going like, all right, we'll see how this plays out. It's not necessarily. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I just think that Justin Fields is capable of being 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think that Russ Wilson is capable of being one of the best 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL too. So, I mean, honestly, I just think that Pittsburgh right now, they're in a good situation. They got 2 quarterbacks that people are low on
Amazing situation.
that they're paying no money for, and it's a position that people give close to anywhere between 25 to 40% of their salary cap to. They're like donating, I don't know, maybe 15, 20% of it to the quarterback position. So, I think they're both get their shot. And I think the best quarterback for the way that Pittsburgh plays football would be the one that ends up the starter there long term.
Right. Right. Gotta earn it. Gotta earn it. It's just funny. Before and we'll move on after this, but before he went to the Steelers, it definitely seemed like his job was a lock. Like, yes, this is my job. He's over here tweeting about players like, let's go. And it's just going to be the funniest like little story going into the year. I can't wait to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll get some takes on that.
Yeah, we gonna go ahead and move on to the next team and the final team in the division. No other than the Los Angeles Chargers. And question is, what are the expectations for Justin Herbert now that coaching isn't an excuse? Actually, let me recall. Let me ask that again. So yeah, let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. What are the expectations for Justin Herbert now that coaching isn't an excuse?
I mean, right now, I think the expectations are that people are going to have that wait and see approach because, as much as maybe people wanted this to be a whole Justin Herbert situation, he lost a lot of guys. He lost a lot of guys that were 1,200-yard, 1,000-yard wide receivers, 10 touchdown a year guys that he does not have on his team anymore. Obviously, he's getting an upgrade at head coach, so maybe that's not an excuse anymore. But we have to see how the roster is filled out by the time the NFL season even starts. So we got to kind of wait to see what their approach is in the draft. We got to wait to see what their approach is after the draft and what they do, before training camp and free agency to pick up some players. Maybe they might make some trades. Justin Herbert is still a good quarterback. He was extended for a reason, $55 million. I want to say a year annually, and so it's kind of a wait and see approach here. I know people probably want to pile on him just because he is the quarterback. It's always the quarterback's fault, but we have to see how the roster's assembled. They were able to keep three or four solid pieces on defense that they were expected to trade. Khalil Mack being the main one, and Joey Bosa, and the fact that they still have those to be their stalwarts on defense, and they still have Derwin James. They can hold up on. They should be able to hold up on that end, and then whatever they're able to do with regards to the offensive linemen that they need, and who they get to be their lead back at running back will also depend on his success. So yeah, it's kind of a wait and see approach right now going into the NFL draft when it comes to the Chargers and Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they obviously lost a lot on offense. Keenan Allen is super consistent, even though he is hurt relatively often, not as much as a Mike Williams, but they had the option to trade a receiver, trade a pass rusher. It kind of goes to show what Harbaugh really values. And like I'm interested to see what they do in the draft. That's really what it depends on. And I see a lot of Chargers fans kind of hating on Derwin James and just how the defense was playing. But what the Chargers fans have to understand is Brandon Staley was a defensive coach that wasn't helping improving the defense. Sometimes if you take a good player, he's not going to look so good if he's in the wrong scheme or if you're just generally using him wrong. So I'm expecting a big comeback year for Derwin James and just this defense as a whole, which is why I think they opted to keep Bosa and Mack, because Mack was pretty healthy. Joey Bosa, they just kind of got to hopefully they hire a better like training staff and some better doctors, nurses over there, because they stay riddled with injuries. But what do you think they should do with that first pick? They got the number 5 pick with their franchise quarterback locked down. The obvious thing seems to be get best receiver available, but Harbaugh doesn't really value receiver as much as others might. So what do you think they should do in terms of that? Trade back, get some assets and fill out some of this roster, or get that true X receiver?
So when it comes to the draft and when it comes to trading back and all those different scenarios, it's kind of relative to what deals on the table for you. I think the Chargers, I think they would like to trade back. I think they would love to trade back. I think they would love to trade back to 11. But I don't think that the person that has the 11th pick has to call the Chargers and, do dealings with them. So if they don't have a trade partner and they're not able to trade back because nobody wants to get to 5, I think that they are forced to stay there. And I think that they select the best player available. And I think that that's going to be the wide receiver, Malik Neighbors, which wouldn't be that bad. This is an offensive line heavy draft. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe you don't get the future Hall of Famer or 10-year starter in Joe Alt at left tackle, but they already have a pretty solid left tackle. They can go ahead. They can draft a blue chip wide receiver, And then if they really care that much in the second, third rounds, fourth, fifth rounds, you can take a shot at trying to get a center, interior lineman for your quarterback, and also whatever running back that they need to select, because they're going to probably also select a running back in this draft too. So
You
I
don't
mean, I
trust
think
Gus Edwards? I feel like Gus Edwards is solid if healthy, especially
I
with
mean,
how he wants to play in terms of
I
hardball.
mean, Gus Edwards is fine. I mean, I would pencil Gus Edwards in for 10 touchdowns, but at the same time, I think that Gus Edwards, or most running backs in today's NFL, they benefit for having a 1-2 punch. So yeah, Gus
Facts.
Edwards and another solid running back from this draft. You know what I
Different
mean? Even if we
style
can go,
too.
yeah, or we can even say that they get I can't think of his name right now. He's from VA. That's so crazy. But they're who was the Michigan running back from
Blake
Michigan? That
Corum.
Blake Corum. They get Blake in the third round, get Blake in the fourth round, and you got Gus Edwards and you got Blake Corum. You
They
got
have
Justin
two.
Herbert. You got wide
They have
receivers.
two fourth rounders too, pretty close to each other. 105
Yeah,
overall or 110 overall. So
right. So it's a situation where if they can select the right players at the right positions in this draft, they could take a jump. I mean, they have a quarterback. They have the quarterback, and that's the hardest part. So solving everything else shouldn't be that hard for them.
the question with them too is like you can have the picks, right? And obviously Harbaugh is going to have a hand in who's getting picked, but like even them picking Quentin Johnston over some of the other options. I know you remember back when he was on TCU and we were watching them play. I think we were at a bar or might have been at like your crib, but he was like running like along the sidelines. I think he was getting ready to get a touchdown, but he got tackled late. And I was like, is that Quentin Johnson? Because at the time he was being slated as wide receiver 1 at that time. And you were like, yeah. And I was like, I don't want him on my team. And I'm not saying that like I predicted him being not very good, but I could just, it's like, how do you make that decision with the run on wide receivers that went on? You know what I mean? And I'm
I
glad
mean,
that that run happened because I'm happy with the Giants getting Deontay Banks. But it's also, my point is, you got to pick the right guy with these picks. And even if they decide to trade back, they got to make sure they're getting the right pieces because Justin Herbert hasn't reached his full potential. Like we just haven't seen it when he was in the playoffs. They let up a 20-plus point lead, super embarrassing, not very much talked about, which is interesting. But hey, what can you do?
No, it's facts. It's kind of funny how Justin Herbert's like his inability to go deep into the playoffs is not really talked about much in the media, but that's a whole
That's
nother
why. That's
conversation.
why. That's why it comes down to coaching. Because when me and Austin talk about this, and we're talking about how quarterbacks like Dak or Lamar get shredded, and Justin Herbert, he doesn't so much. It's like, all right, well, Dak has a Super Bowl winning coach. Lamar has a Super Bowl winning coach. I felt like Brandon Staley was the scapegoat. So it's like, all right, you have this winner that everyone is saying is a sure thing. Hell, his brother coaches in the conference. So let's see, nut up or shut up.
Tight. Well, I mean, let's
Hey,
move on to
break. At 39 minutes, I need to
right.
get more Sunny D. Plus, we're moving on to another division, so we're almost done.
Wait, should
All
I
right,
just hit
man.
the pause button type shit?
yeah, just hit the.
All right, so moving on to the next division, no other than the NFC West. We'll start off with the San Francisco 49ers. Have we already seen the 49ers peak?
Nah. To be real with you, like they're good. I mean, they're one of the most talented rosters in the NFL on both ends, on the defensive end, on the offensive end. They got one of the best coaches in the NFL, so that right there means that they're going to be fine. Brock Purdy, 4,000 yards passing. They had Christian McCaffrey with over 1,400 yards just rushing. You know what I mean? I think he had 2,000 yards total. And then Brandon Aiyuk, the 1,300-yard wide receiver, isn't even considered the best wide receiver on the football team. So, I mean, this is what happens when you got a rookie quarterback on contract. You're able to kind of load up on everywhere on the offense and defensive side of the ball. And then when you have a decent coach as your head coach, you're going to end up winning a good amount of games. And you're probably going to end up winning a good amount of games when it matters in January too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they've peaked because, hell, what if Brock Purdy we haven't seen the best of Brock Purdy? Brock Purdy played well enough to have them boys in overtime. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks that they lost Eric Armstead, but it's not like, I mean, it's a stacked defense. With the 49ers, I feel like some people might think they're about to miss their window, but it's only because their team is so stacked. So it's like, all right, yeah, you lost Eric Armstead, but you still have Fred Warner there. You have Drake Greenlaw, who he hurt his ankle running onto the field. Freak injury he tore his Achilles, which is nuts. And that was sad. That was heartbreaking to me because you could tell the way he was running to the field, was just excited to get out there and play with his boys, man. So, and did they even have Tyler Hufanga in the Super Bowl? He was hurt. He was out, right?
Yeah, he was hurt.
So honestly, they haven't peaked. It's just comes down to health, and they've been healthier than they've been in years past overall in terms of their star players. I mean, it's funny. It's like Christian McCaffrey gets there, and it's like injury history. I'm never injured. It's crazy. They use him way more than, I mean, I guess the Panthers used him a lot, but like, it's like, I don't know if he was faking it like Harden, obviously not, but like, it's just wild to see. So I guess my question, Austin, is what do you think they should do about Brandon Aiyuk? I know this is some like new school shit, but he recently unfollowed the 49ers, and I think his brother or something was talking shit. That seems to be the path to disgruntled receivers or whatever nowadays. Unfollow, family member talk shit.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's just they're just in contract negotiations, and these are how contract negotiations go. They're negotiated out in public. They're negotiated through the media. They're negotiated through social media. This is the new age of contract negotiations. Brandon Aiyuk had 1,300 yards. If you ask certain scouts or front office people, they believe that he is the better quote unquote wide receiver on that football team. Yeah, they have Deebo Samuel, and I think Deebo Samuel is still an amazing playmaker, hell of a football player, and is worth all the money that he's being paid. But that really has nothing to do with what Brandon Aiyuk is dealing with. And as for Brandon Aiyuk, okay, if you don't want to pay me, that's okay. I feel you. I understand that. But you do got to send me off. You're going to have to trade me, or you're going to have to do, we're just negotiating. And everything's on the table when you're negotiating. I think that Brandon Aiyuk would love to have an extension with the San Francisco 49ers. But at the same time, I think Brandon Aiyuk understands the business side of football and understands that, maybe they don't want to allocate so much money to just one position. So maybe they have to trade somebody.
Newsflash. Even though he did just unfollow, his agent just came out like an hour ago and denied that Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade. Which is
I was going to get to that. I was going to bring that. I was actually going to bring that up. But thank you for letting them know that. Yeah, there was some drama earlier in the day, and it got cleared up by his agent. And also one of the reports that I've seen, and this makes the most sense to me, if there were to be a wide receiver to be traded from the San Francisco 49ers, it would be the player that is similar to all the other players on the football team, and that's regarded being like a kind of like a yak guy. And Christian McCaffrey is a nice yak guy. George Kittle's a nice yak guy. Juan Jennings, I kind of hate him, but he's a nice yak guy. So
What's your problem with Juwan Jennings? What did he do? Bro, he was about to win Super Bowl MVP if they won. He was going crazy.
But I don't care. I don't like him. So, but Debo Samuel, So again, if they were actually seriously negotiating a trade, it would probably be a trade for Debo Samuel, which I don't think they would do that either. I think that this is going to get worked out. I just think that because Brandon Aiyuk understands where the wide receiver market is, he and his agent, they have a certain number that they got to get to. And the 49ers also have a certain number that they want to get to. That's where the situation is at right now. And now the longer this goes, the more it's going to be in Brandon Aiyuk's situation. People don't, people, GMs, for whatever reason, they don't understand that the longer you wait, the more you pay. So if I was them, I want Brandon Aiyuk right now, $23 million a year, $25 million a year. Because if we wait until Jay Jettis signs, we wait until CeeDee Lamb signs, that 23 mil is already at 27 mil. If we're not talking about more than that even. So if they want to shave a couple bucks off of his contract extension, it would be wise for them to stop playing with him and his agent and get to that table and let's make a deal really quick.
Yeah. Shit, man. I kind of disagree with the whole like trade the player that is like the other guys. Like, yeah, they're all yak guys, but think about that one game towards the end of the season where, Debo was hurt and Shanahan was like, shit, what do we do? Like, because, Shanahan really sticks to his game plan. So I really don't think it's that simple as, like you could just get rid of Debo and keep Aiyuk. What they could do is, look, they drafted Aiyuk in the first round 4 years ago. Go grab one of these receivers for the cheap, trade him for some assets, which I think is possible. I think they could get, and I know it's like, it's backwards. You already have the player. He's entering his prime right now. You might as well retain him. That's exactly what like the Cowboys would do, but you have your money tied up in so many places. It's interesting to see what they're going to do there.
I do think it's funny that you said that they would, you talked about Debo Samuel and we're talking about Brandon Aiyuk, and now you brought up them drafting a wide receiver. I had in one of the mocks that we ran, I had them select Tad McKinley. Is that his name?
Lad McConkey.
Lad McConkey. I had them drafting Lad McConkey.
Yo, you were so you be off on names, but you were off crazy with that one. I was like,
yeah.
I thought you were saying some Key and Peele shit.
After looking at his measurables and looking at what he was doing throughout the entire draft process, that is a player that is perfect for the San Francisco 49ers. And the fact that he's literally compared to Percy Harvin is all the more reason why it's like, okay, all right, well, we can have Brandon Aiyuk. We can draft this guy in the first round. And he can be our new Debo, because who was Debo Samuels before there was Debo Samuels? There was Percy Harvin. Percy Harvin was the original Debo Samuels. So, again, these and again, the 49ers, if anybody, I got faith in finding offensive playmakers that can give you yards after run after catch ability. I think that it would be the San Francisco 49ers. So, it is hard finding that X wide receiver, which Brandon Aiyuk is. I think that, if they gotta figure out something in regards to the gadget guys and the older guy, I think they ship out the older guy with the high contract. They go ahead, they sign or draft a younger player to do his same job. And you're running. You're off and running.
The thing about that is Debo's a good 30 pounds heavier than McConkey. So it's not that simple to be like, yeah, just go do what Debo did. What Debo does is something no one else does. It's easier to find another Brandon Aiyuk than it is to find another Debo. As good as Lad
X wide receiver? You think so? X wide receiver, 30.
I mean,
13
Lad, hey, in that mock, you could have picked somebody else besides Lad McConkey. You could have went like a Troy Franklin. You could have went.
He's 176 pounds. What are we gonna do with that? What are we doing with that over here?
Lad McConkey is 180. He's
Hey, but
McConkey's 180.
but he runs 4.3. He runs 4.3.
That's cool, but
He getting in and out the. He has a route tree. He has a route tree.
Breaking tackles like Debo. That doesn't make him another Debo. He
doesn't break tackles like Debo, but he's still like. That's what I'm saying. This is Kyle Shanahan.
What makes Debo so fascinating is the fact that he looks a little chunky. He kind of looks shaped like a slimmer Eddie Lacy in his peak fatness, but he'd be breaking those tackles and he'd be out of there. So that's what I'm saying. I think it's hard to replace. I'm not saying none of these things are easy to replace. Debo's not easy to replace. Brandon Aiyuk's not easy to replace. But I think they have a better chance of replacing Brandon Aiyuk, even though like it's a tough situation. I don't know.
I think both of y'all made some very, very valid points. I mean, it's just only a matter of time will tell. So that being said, let's move on to the next team in the division. We got no other than the Los Angeles Rams. Do the Rams have enough draft capital to patch up the holes from their all-in Super Bowl run? Takes away.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they've already done a good job, even in the draft before, patching up some of those holes for their Super Bowl run. So I think when you're talking about the Los Angeles Rams, they're just like, oh, cool, we got a first round pick this year, finally. So, I think that they're one of those teams, and even when they were all in, when they were going all in and they were trading first round picks for players, they were always getting picks back. They never not got some fifth round or sixth round, seventh round pick back. But people were just, oh, they don't have day one picks, or maybe they only had a few day two selections. So they didn't realize, oh, they are actually throwing darts at the board still. So, they got blue chip players to run their offense, to run their system on defense. And then they were able to throw darts at some of these late round prospects and all the drafts from the previous years. They would end up getting players that were playing starter, giving them starter minutes, essentially. They were giving them starter snaps, starter reps. They ended up being part of their future. I mean, I think his name is Ernest Young, right? Outside linebacker out of Tennessee. He's going to be playing there for a few years. They also drafted a cornerback, Williams, over there, 0. He's solid. So it's like they had players on their football team that they literally drafted in the late rounds that are playing well. I mean, Korean Williams, I think he might even have been an undrafted free agent or like a 6th or 7th round pick.
Yeah. I think he might have been undrafted.
And
he
goes
crazy, bro. Shit.
So you know what I mean? He was in the 5th round. He was selected in the 5th round.
Oh,
so these are late round picks that they're hitting on, and everybody, and everybody else they're worried about day 1, day 2 draft picks. They're like, look, man, just how many selections we have today? Oh, we get 10 selections. Cool. We're gonna get some starters out of 10 selections. And I like the way that they do that.
Speaking of 10 selections, though, they're 10th in draft capital this year. And it's more draft capital that they've had since they drafted Todd Gurley. So I think the Rams is definitely one of those sleeper teams. I mean, that division could get real scary with Mike McDonald coming to the Seahawks, all the weapons that they have. You have the 49ers, obviously. And, with the Rams and how good they've been drafting, and they have Sean McVay there. If Matt Stafford could just stay healthy, I think that's the key. That's the X factor right there. Can Matt Stafford stay healthy, and can Cooper Kupp return to form? Because if Cooper Kupp can return to form, along with Puka Nacua, oh my God, scary stuff.
But even if honestly, even if he doesn't, they'll probably select another guy in the 4th round, and he'll give you 800 yards. Like, I mean, they were out there, they were playing with what's his name? Can you go back to the roster really quick for me?
For sure.
It was they don't have him on here. The Tutu Atwell. They were playing with Tutu Atwell, and he's
like the size of 42 Doug.
Yeah, he's like 5'8".
Like Sean McVay. I mean, it's like what we were talking about with Kyle Shanahan or with Sean Payton. These coaches and how they scheme stuff up really makes a huge difference. And personally, I know what you took in the mock draft, but I think they should definitely take the best nose tackle available, replace Aaron Donald. Shout out to an amazing career, Aaron Donald. You're done terrorizing offenses. But yeah, I think this was the perfect time for him to retire because now they have all this draft capital where they could kind of make the no-brainer pick of, hey, we're just going to go D tackle. We're going to go Byron Murphy or Jerzon Newton, and then we have more picks than we ever have. Yeah, if they're there. But as we did in the mock draft, we saw how much the defensive players were falling. So really depends on what happens. But this is why it feels like every year I'm feeling this draft is about to be a crazy draft. It just gets crazier and crazier because these teams are risking more. I remember there was a time in the NFL where teams rarely took risk, and now we're here.
No, that's facts. That's facts. I mean, shit. Talk about amount of teams that be going for it on fourth down. That's just one of many things that's changed about the league over the past couple of years. But let's move on to the next team in the division. No other than the good old Seattle Seahawks. Is Mike McDonald the answer to the Seahawks' recent defensive woes? Tell me, y'all. Tell me.
This is the next boy genius. This is the guy. This is what they were calling your boy Kellen Moore. But it seems very real this time. So I think it was if you're gonna get rid of Pete Carroll, who won a Super Bowl, brought you to 2 Super Bowls, took Geno Smith to another level with his offensive philosophy. The only thing is Pete Carroll's a defensive head coach, and their defense has been pretty trash recently. That's been the weak point of their team because they have that combo of Metcalf, Lockett, and now they have JSN there. Kenneth Walker goes crazy, and they just picked up who they draft last year? The other back. Damn, see, I'm usually good with these names.
Charbonnet.
Zach Charbonnet, right. So their offense is looking solid. They just got Charles Cross maybe like a year or so ago. So, and then Devon Witherspoon, they fleeced the Broncos. So they're another sleeper. I mean, this division could get crazy really fast. Their needs are pretty clear, but I think Mike McDonald might be that missing piece to really take this defense to another level because I'm sure their offense will be all right with all those weapons. And that's going to be a real difference maker for
them. Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, maybe that they take another step, but I kind of see them just kind of playing the same game that they played the year before. Like I got them going 9-8. Kind of, they're gonna be a tough team to play. They're gonna be times where they look kind of all world, and there's gonna be games where it's like, yo, who is this team? I think that it's a first year head coach. I definitely think that he'll improve the defense. I think that the offense will probably take a few steps back just because there is a ceiling with Geno Smith at quarterback. Also, Tyler Lockett will be another year older. JSN will probably start to take a few targets from some of the other wide receivers that they have on the team. They do have a solid offense. So, I think they're just going to be one of those teams that teams aren't going to want to play on Sunday. And there's going to be times where they get upset wins. There's also going to be times where they're upset by some of the other teams in the NFL. Just basically, just a team that's a fringe 500, give or take the year. That's just kind of what I got for the Seahawks.
With Tyler Lockett, he's only 31, so I don't think because it feels like I'm just referencing fantasy. It feels like people think he's trash or think he might be washed, trying to predict when he's washed. I think a part of the reason, no offense to him, is just he's very bald. So he just looks old. You know what I mean? But he's the same age as Devontae Adams. So I think he could still be productive along with JSN and DK, and that's a crazy 3-headed beast along with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. Feel that offense, as long as we'll see what's going with Geno. He had the breakout year, and then this past year was like a step back a little bit. I think this third year is going to show us who he really is. Oh yeah, and shout out, the Mountaineers, of course. Shout out to Gino.
Hey,
But
no, I got
it's a tough division, man. So it's all comes back to the draft. Are you drafting these impact players? And last year they used that pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if Devin Witherspoon is a consensus top 3, top 5 corner. He's just that good. So
I would be surprised.
Why is that?
Top 3, top 5. I mean, his coverage grade is at 17. I think he's a good football player, but I mean, when we played him, we was kind of cooking him. But
you got tunnel vision with the Cowboys, though. What about when he played everybody else and as a body of work?
I mean, right.
They have him as the number 6, and you be taking PFS as gospel. They have him number 6. Yeah, the coverage grade, it's kind of worked out with the pass rush grade. But
he's a playmaker on defense. That's what he is. You want that guy. You want him in the slot, and you just want him to just wreak havoc. Like he's one of the best players coming up, supporting a run. You send him on blitzes. Like they're going to have fun with him. I just don't think he's not one of those outside one-on-one.
I mean, wide, right. He almost had as many snaps out wide as in the slot.
Yeah. So, and that's all I'm saying is just he's a good cornerback and I like him. Like I definitely was like, yeah, he deserved to get selected 5th overall. I just think when it comes to, that he's not, I don't know if he'll be a shutdown cornerback on the outside type player, but he's still a player I would want on my football team.
Right. Fair enough. Who we got next, Eliante?
All right, so next up on the division, we got actually the final team, Arizona Cardinals. Are the Cardinals the biggest sleepers in the conference?
I don't know if they're the biggest sleepers in the conference just because, their quarterback wasn't healthy last year. So, people kind of knew that they were not going to have a good team. They were going to be a bad football team. I mean, especially before the season started, we thought they were going to be the ones selecting Caleb Williams and Kyler Murray was going to be the one that got shipped off. It didn't work out that way. They were actually a competitive bunch. Their head coach is a very good head coach. I know his last name is Gannon. I don't know what his first name is, but I think with the draft capital that they have, and the positions that they need, there's still a ways away to maybe competing for like that division title. But, they're going to probably come out of the first, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 picks with, if they do this right, potentially 3 or 4 starters. And, really they can have a situation where they get a starting cornerback and a starting wide receiver. And they can probably get somebody to solidify the middle of their offensive line with one of these centers too. I mean, with those 3 picks right there, I think they instantly upgrade their football team. And then, just see how they filled it out with free agency, see how everything gels together. And I think this year they might not be trying to make some crazy jump, but for sure they can compete with the Seahawks. And the Rams finished it at 10-7. Seahawks finished at 9-8. I can see them maybe getting to the fighting for that 3rd or 2nd place finish in the division, and throughout the whole entire NFL season, maybe be on the fringe of possibly like competing for a playoff spot, like that last wild card spot, the 7th seed, and just missing the playoffs because of 1 or 2 games, or making the playoffs because of 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, with the Cardinals, personally, I do think they're the biggest sleeper, and one of the reasons why you said they're not is the reason why I think that they are, and that's because Kyler Murray was hurt, and the sentiment on Kyler Murray is pretty down. I think that playoff loss against the Rams a couple years back left a bad taste in people's mouths, not to mention the contract situation where they put in, like, make sure you study the playbook a couple times a week and chill out on the Call of Duty. Like, I feel like the sentiment on him is really down when it's like, hey, remember, this kid got drafted number 1 overall. They shipped out Josh Rosen, and he got drafted to the MLB at the same time. Like, this kid is exceptional talent, and I think if they did somehow get the number 1 pick, they would realize, and let's say they got the number 1 pick and Kyler Murray was still showing what he showed when he did play, but they just have to lose a little bit more games, right? Which would be hard to beat the Panthers out, which is now the Bears pick. But let's just imagine that. I think they just go ahead and try to either trade back a couple spots where they could still get Marvin Harrison Jr., or they just stick and pick and say, hey, we got plenty of picks. Let's just make sure we get them. That would have been a perfect situation, but I don't think they would have shipped him out like the Bears did Justin Fields. But yeah, with the Cardinals, they have number 4 overall, number 27, number 35, number 66, number 71, number 90, number 104, and then they have 4 more picks after that. So it really comes down to getting the right guy, because these picks are always hypotheticals. They're always, it sounds good. It's in these trades, it's like, oh, they got a second rounder and a third rounder for this guy. But if you use that on a Jalen Reagor, then who the hell cares, right? So if they could just hit on these picks, like Austin said, and get a couple starters out of those first picks and maybe a couple sleepers later in the rounds, they will definitely be a big sleeper to me, because I just believe in Kyler Murray that much. And I'm kind of assuming they get Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, and you have
Go to Trey McBride's profile really quick, please.
Yeah,
for sure.
The tight end.
McBride. Oh yeah, I picked him up in fantasy last year. He was cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, smooth. They had him in the slot. They had him in a slot a bunch.
He can even run block.
Yeah, no, the kid's a beast, and they got him in the second round. So I mean, hey, that's good. That's good use of draft picks there. Just good use of your picks, getting a guy like that instead of the Falcons getting Kyle Pitts, number 4 overall. Don't think the Cardinals would do that, So I have high hopes for them as long as health stays intact, but that's kind of what we got to say for every team. But that's going to be a very interesting division, I think, with Jonathan Gannon getting a full year, Kyler.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I said, he's a good head coach. I mean, he was scheming up ways to beat teams. He beat 2 teams from his former division, which was the NFC East. Was the NFC East? I'm talking about Jonathan Gannon. He was able to scheme up to beat the Dallas Cowboys week 3 of the NFL season. So like Cowboys had no excuse to lose that football game. And he was able to, Kyler, him, and I can't think of the running back's name right now. Oh my gosh. James Conner were able to beat Philadelphia 76ers, Philadelphia Eagles on the second to last game of the season, or the last game of the season. Yeah, weeks.
No. We were the last game of the season.
17.
That was poetic justice.
Yes. So I mean, I like their head coach. I like what they're doing. I mean, I even like the decision that they made and not giving up on Kyler, letting him play out the last few games of the season. I respect Kyler for coming back and playing the last few games of those last few months of the season. Like I like the Cardinals, but I just think that right now, they got a few steps that they still need to take before they start making that serious playoff jump.
Yeah, I think they're definitely a year away, but hey, all it might take him and Marvin Harrison, that connection could win them a couple games by itself. And side note, shame on the NFL for having Budda Baker be a Pro Bowler over like Antoine Winfield or some of those guys. I know his name sounds cool, but he did not play that well. Like that shit pisses me off. Like it's not something where it's like, oh, it's just customary. Like there's money involved here when it comes to shit like that. And I like Budda Baker, but come on, bro, living in the past. Looking at you, voters.
Hey, yo, Austin, you remember that time we was up in Pittsburgh for the backyard brawl? When we hit the strip club, we bumped into Kyle Murray.
No, I don't remember that. I don't remember
You
that.
weren't you? Weren't you with us? It was like the first year for the backyard brawl. Like,
I mean, maybe.
do you remember going to the strip club? Do you remember going to the strip club?
Wait, no, because when me and Austin were together for backyard brawl, so I would have
That's
been
what I'm
there.
saying. Nah, you had other things to attend to that night.
Shit, maybe Austin doesn't remember. Shit, I don't know. You don't remember going to the strip club? But again, I don't think he would forget seeing Kyler. Now I remember the last time I was in Pittsburgh, I saw Aaron Donald on the street, and my drunk ass was thinking like, he's not that big. I could beat his ass, I think. You know what I mean?
Like shit, not.
He had a fat Cuban on, bruh. Big ass neck. He looks like fucking Juggernaut from X-Men, bruh. Swear
bro,
to God.
I didn't even notice this nigga Kyle Murray, his short ass, bro. Like I remember it was I think it was Kuma who pointed it out, and then like niggas, I was like, oh shit. He's like, hey nigga,
was he blowing hella bread?
I mean, nah, he was leaving as we were walking in. And I swear Austin was with us. I swear you were with us. Probably were with us. Probably just don't remember. Hey, it was a lit day. It was a lit ass day, you know what I'm saying? But nah, he was literally on his way out. We were on our way in. Shit was funny, but yeah. But I guess that wraps up this episode of Matter of Fact. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate everybody that's been tuning in to, each episode. There's more content to come. We've been going hard, especially, these two right here. They've been, matter of fact, they had the mock draft they did, and it's going to be uploaded here soon. So y'all probably going to have that uploaded before y'all going to be watching this. So just, tap in and subscribe if you ain't already subscribed. Drop a like, drop a comment, let us know. So, we're going to start doing fan comments moving forward. Like, if y'all have like a question, let us know. You know what I'm saying? You have a disagreement and get something Dom, Austin say, let us know. If you think just one of them just have like a bad hair day or like, just whatever, just drop a comment, let us know what's popping. You know what I'm saying? It's matter of fact. We keep it factual over here. And yeah, matter of fact, I think that wraps it up. Peace.
See you guys.
Deuces.